For the holidays this year, we took a trip to visit my parents in Kissimmee, Florida. I knew we wouldn't be able to go 2 weeks without doing some mountain biking, so naturally we took the bikes and headed to the Sunshine State. Our plan was to go a day early so we could stay the night in Ocala and hit Santos the next morning. The original plan was to camp, but since the weather was dipping down below 30 degrees, we opted for a motel instead. After more than 6 hours in the car, we couldn't wait to check in. We may have been a little too anxious to ride. Yeah, good thing there was no deposit. The next day, we arrived at the main lot at Santos. Aside from watching MTB Frequent Flyer and Canadian Karl on YouTube, I hadn't done much research and didn't really know what to expect, which was apparently bears. We did some green and blue trails there and immediately noticed the difference in terrain. Sharp, jagged rocks and lots of roots made up for the lack of elevation as they presented plenty of challenge. Add in the sand and it's no surprise that many riders in this area opt for fat bikes. The parking lot hosted a great skills area with lots of skinnies and other cool features. I'd gotten some recommendations to check out the Vortex and the jump lines, but after checking out the map we realized we would have to pack it up and drive to a different lot to get there. So apparently the Vortex, where we're trying to get, is pretty far away. We're up here, and it's way over here. Looks like there's an access road here. Alright, so we're at the other parking lot now where the Vortex was supposed to be. Once we saw the wooden jump lines here, we knew they weren't messing around. We did a few runs and jumped onto the Vortex. Luna was eager to get some miles in. Despite the lack of elevation that we are used to here in North Georgia, they definitely know how to use what they've got. There were some really punchy technical climbs that would challenge the most experienced riders. And the stereotype of people in Florida being crazy, well, that definitely doesn't exclude the mountain bikers. We found some drops and jumps bigger than anything I've ever seen, lots of which were covered by tarps or chained off. I don't know if they opened them up for certain groups or if they just got tired of airlifting people to the hospital, but I wasn't going to try my luck being so far from home and in the worst part of the COVID pandemic. We had a great time though and got to ride some seriously unique trails. The weather was perfect, and if you're in Georgia like me, I'd highly recommend taking the trip, especially in the winter. Our next location is Joyce E. Hart Park, or Carter Road as the locals call it. Beautiful park in Lakeland, Florida with a dog park and newly built skate park. It's also home to about 13 miles of some of the craziest mountain bike trails I've ever seen. I found this place towards the end of our trip, and with it being only an hour from my parents' house, we had to squeeze it in. I spent over an hour watching videos on YouTube about it because I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. I knew it would probably be even worse in person because the camera always makes things look smaller. I'd never been scared to ride somewhere before, but when you see these skinny trails on a ridge 50 feet or more above a lake full of alligators, it's hard not to think of what could happen. There are 3 black diamond trails aptly named fingers because they are skinny land masses that extend out into the lake. It's hard to imagine how these formed and what they were thinking when they built these trails, but it's unlike anything I've ever seen or ridden. The trails here also had lots of wood features, some of which were very challenging. Like Santos, there were some that I just didn't even bother with. Like Santos, they also utilized the little elevation effectively with lots of steep ups and downs. The scenery was absolutely stunning, and we got to see all kinds of wildlife along the lake, birds, turtles, and even some alligators.
Here you go.
Being on the ridges and unfamiliar terrain definitely pushed my abilities. I would have loved to session some of these trails and features, but I also wanted to make sure we got to see as much as possible. I think after 5 or 6 hours of riding, we still didn't get to see everything. We love the trails here though, and next time I'm in Florida, I'll definitely be back. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Let me know in the comments if you've been to Santos or Carter Road, if you plan on going, or if you enjoyed watching. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.